a part of everything, and everything is a part of us.
Short crop hair is kind of trending right now, in case you hadn't noticed. But really, it's about the eyebrows. I came to my short crop because of a cough. I thought, it's just a little cough. But my husband and daughter begged to differ, and I went and got it checked out. The x-ray was fine. So my doctor sent me off to an ENT, who said, I think it's silent reflux. Here's some Prilosec. Come back and see me in 6 weeks. Well, in those 6 weeks, I got pneumonia, and then I finally caught COVID. 2 respiratory ailments that make you cough. So my coughing went on and on and on. Finally went back to the doctor, and this time she said, we're going to do a CAT scan. And one afternoon I was home working, the phone rang, and it was the radiology department who said, we've got your results back. Your chest looks great. However, we see a shadow in your upper abdomen. And all I could think is, are you freaking kidding me? Just so happened, I was binge watching a show called Dead to Me at that time. And they said the same thing to one of the characters on the show. We see a shadow. She only lasted a couple more episodes after that. So I went back, had another CAT scan, got it checked out. And early in January, my phone rang. It's my doctor on a Friday night. And I answer the phone and she says, are you somewhere where you can talk? And I think to myself, I really don't like where this is headed. I said, yes, I'm home. And she said, is there someone with you, like maybe your husband? And that's when I really knew this was something I was not going to want to hear. And she told me, you have ovarian cancer. I was blown away. I could have thought of a million things for her to tell me, and that was last on the list. And I said, well then, I think dry January just went out the window. I'm drinking tonight. And she said, absolutely, so would I, and gave me a referral to Smilo Cancer. On my first appointment with the oncologist, I was sitting in the waiting room, and there was a platter that had a saying on it in teal that said, listen to the whispers. And I thought, what the hell does that mean? And I found out that ovarian cancer is called the whispering cancer because there are no screenings for it, and more importantly, the symptoms are so insidiously subtle, you may never know you have it until it's too late. They asked me, have you been feeling bloated lately? Maybe some abdominal pressure, a little acid reflux. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I just ate and drank my way very merrily through December. Of course I felt like that. And there you go, insidious whispers. So then my team, and then I had a team, told me it's going to be cancer and some surgery, and you're going to lose your hair. And I have to say, going bald didn't worry me so much as what my head would look like. I mean, think about it. You don't know what's going on underneath there. It could be bumpy or wrinkly or just oddly shaped. And I kind of lucked out, I think, but I did discover one thing. It is really hard to regulate your body temperature when you don't have any hair. Kudos to the men who do this all the time. I don't know how they do it. It was winter, and I was cold constantly. So I wore a cap all the time, even to bed. And then finally spring came around, and it warmed up, and I took off that cap and emerged proudly like a newborn baby chick. People were a little shocked because without the bald head, there was no way of knowing that anything was going on with me. I got a lot of, ooh, like the new edgy look. And I thought, yeah, edgy, look, I'm leaning into this. And I felt like I was really rocking it. And then my friend Doug took me aside and said, no, love, let me tell you from experience. It's all about the eyebrows. Because you can have a bald head, and as long as you have eyebrows, people are going to look at you and think, ooh, she's edgy. But when you don't have the eyebrows, people are just looking at you and thinking, ooh, she's sick. So I made it through the first round of treatment, and then it was time for the hot chemo spa. Actually, it's high-pec surgery. So when they fill you up with chemotherapy that's heated to about 110 degrees, because the other thing I learned, cancer does not like the heat. Before the surgery, my oncologist said, I need you to get strong for this, and here's a lot of literature. I need you to read up and find out everything that's going to happen to you. So I went home and promptly read nothing. Yeah, there's a little bit of denial going on, I'd say. And as the surgery got closer, I still didn't read anything. And I was joking with my husband one day, and I said, what do you think they're going to do to me? Fill me up like some Jell-O mold and wiggle me around so it all goes into the nooks and crannies? And then I finally read up on it. And holy, that's exactly what they do to you. After surgery, I was beyond exhausted. And I remember walking into the bathroom one day and looking in the mirror and thinking, oh my God, I look like I got cancer. How did that happen? And oh my goodness, look at this. My hair is starting to grow back in. I guess because the chemo wasn't infused, the hair follicles never got the message that they weren't supposed to be growing. And then I noticed something else. My eyebrows were starting to grow back in, and they were thicker than they'd been before. And that's when I realized I'd been overplucking them for years. And just as I started getting really used to this kind of nice new look that was happening, chemo came around again and it all fell out. This past June was my last chemo treatment. And in July, the oncologist told me, you are cancer-free, which was really nice. Thank you. I am very grateful. I was very fortunate that due to an incidental shadow, my cancer was caught in time. So this story has a good ending. Because as I realized from that character on Dead to Me, the alternative really sucks. I mean, they could write you off the show for that. So now my hair's grown in, so have my eyebrows, so I've got this edgy short crop, and I'm really kind of liking it. I think I'm going to keep it. Besides, I've never been so fashionably chic in my entire life. But damn it, now I have to shave my legs again. Thank you. What's in a name? Fame, fortune, an alias, a target, a burden. The Free Dictionary defines what you are labeled or called is arbitrary compared to your intrinsic qualities. For me, it was simple. I was the kid in school whose last name no one could pronounce, Santisteban. I learned very early on that when the teacher started roll call and they got to the S's and started going, I'd put my head down, I'd put my arm up and say, here! And hope that would be it. But it never was. There would always be the discussion of how you say my last name. The teachers be kind, nice, they'd try very hard, and then give up. And I would be just Denise S. At the time, that was fine with me. I didn't like being a kid who called attention to herself. And besides, it was easier than listening to the mispronunciations of my name from people who would think they were getting it so perfectly right when they were getting it so perfectly wrong. And by that point in time, I couldn't correct them. And over the years, the iterations that I've heard of my last name were wild. The one I get most often is Sebastian. And I have to give those people credit. I mean, they've got all the right letters. They're just completely wrong. And what used to really make me laugh was my grandfather's name was Sebastian. So did people just think he was Sebastian? And then when I was about 15, I was in a doctor's waiting room with my mom. And the nurse comes out and calls Santisteban. And my mother gets up, starts walking away, and I'm like, whoa, wait. I grab onto her sleeve. I'm like, where are you going? That's not our last name. That's not how you say it. And she turns and looks at me and says, oh, yes, it is. That's how you pronounce it correctly in Spanish, and starts walking away. And all I could do was follow after her thinking, what? All this time, people have been mispronouncing my last name, and we weren't even saying it right. Afterwards, I asked her about it, and my mom said, well, I guess when Grandpa came from Peru and went through Ellis Island, he Americanized it, so it'd be simpler to say. And all I could think is, well, Grandpa, you got that one wrong. But I pondered. It bothered me, and I was trying to figure out this difference between Santisteban versus Santisteban. And so with the infinite wisdom of a teenager, I decided that from then on, I would be Santisteban. I don't think I ever told my family about it. I know I never discussed it with my grandfather. But to the outside world, I was Santisteban. I don't know, maybe it just seemed to fit me better. Years later, I got married, and I could have taken the easy way out and adopted my husband's last name and never have to explain to anybody how to spell it or how to say it. But you don't go through life with a name like Santisteban and trade it in for something like Edwards. For our daughter, we decided, let's hyphenate it. Santisteban Edwards. We'll give her a piece of both of us. However, if you've ever had to fill out a form where the last name is, they never give you enough space. And the best that you ever get to was Santisteban Edwa. And then when she was about 7th grade, we went to one of her swim meets. And the kids came running out with sweatshirts on, and their last names were on the back of it. And out comes my daughter, and she turns around, and there it is on the back of her sweatshirt, Santisteban. Just a Santisteban. That was it. And I leaned over to my husband. Maybe there wasn't enough room for Edwards. And he leans over to me and says, maybe she's forgotten I'm paying for college. It was neither of those. She had made a decision. She had dropped Edwards. And she kept it dropped because she felt like Santisteban just maybe suited her a little bit better. To this day, she doesn't use her hyphenated last name unless she has to sign a legal document. And my husband and I have both been kind of fluid about our last names. For instance, if I get a call from a telemarketer or a salesman, I tell them that I'm Denise Edwards. And that way, if they call me back, I know I don't want to talk to them, and I can honestly say, I'm really sorry, you've got the wrong number. There's no one by the name of Denise Edwards that lives in this house. We use his last name for restaurant reservations as well. Why? Because then we'll usually get a much better table in the restaurant than if we use my last name. When we travel, it kind of depends on where we are. Of course, when we went to Peru, the motherland of my last name, we used my name. And there, I did not have to spell my last name. I didn't have to pronounce it. They didn't even blink at it. It was like being Smith or Jones. It was amazing. So what's in the last name? Fame and fortune? I didn't really get those. I guess I am kind of famous because people remember me as the woman with the last name that they may not be able to pronounce. A target? Yes, I've had that, because people judge me by the ethnicity of my last name and not who I am. I've used it conveniently as an alias. And that little girl would have told you, yeah, that last name was a burden. As for the intrinsic qualities that I have, my name is family. It's cultural heritage. About 8 years ago, my mom had come to live with us, and I once again was sitting in a doctor's office with her, and the nurse came out and would start looking at the thing, and she starts going, and my mom puts up her hand, excuse me. And my mom, who had been Connie Santisteban for over half her life, looked up and said, the name is Santisteban. Thank you.